sophieLawson.com, and this is episode 52 of the So Free Art podcast, which is a little podcast I do about art and things. And this one is going to be, I think it's going to be another little episode where I'm just going to talk about how I'm going to try a new format for the show. And it all came about because of last week's episode where I was trying to do a podcast about inspirational people, but it ended up taking so much longer than what I thought that I didn't do it, because I've only got so much time to do these podcasts. And so I thought I'll do that one next time. And then the more I thought about it, the more I thought I don't want to be spending as much time as I'm spending on the podcast. Not because I don't love doing it, it's because I really want to focus on my art. So I'm trying to work out ways to do everything with art still being the main focus. So that's what this podcast is going to be about this week, is like the new format for the show and why I'm doing it and stuff. I also wanted to quickly say about last week's episode, because I didn't realise it, but there is actually a name for how stuff takes longer than what you expect, and it's called Hofstadter's Law, and I'll put links to everything in the show notes at sophieLawson.com. But the law is that stuff takes longer than what you expect, even taking into account Hofstadter's Law. So even if you go into it knowing it's going to take longer than what you think, it's still going to take longer than even what you think, which is quite mad. So I just thought that was quite fascinating, and I'll link to that in the show notes and everything. Also, I stuck a new video on YouTube, which is looking at issue 8 of the Character Design Quarterly magazine, and I'm really falling in love with these magazines. It's basically magazines where it's just full of artwork, interviews with artists, art tips and stuff like that. But what I've been doing is I've started teaming up with this 8-minute drawing exercise, which I've talked about before. It's where you get something and you set a timer for 8 minutes, and then you have to draw that one thing 6 different times. So you draw it for 4 minutes, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 minutes, 30 seconds, 15 seconds and 5 seconds. And it's a really good fun way of practicing drawing and getting yourself ready to draw, like a little fun exercise. But what I've done is I've started flicking through those magazines, and I'll pick out a random image that I like, and then that's what I'm going to start doing the exercise with, and it's just worked out really well. So I just thought that was quite a little fun little thing. And that is that. Another thing is this episode is on video, and this one is going to be the first one using my new camcorder, which is amazing because I went outside with it and I can actually zoom in to the moon. This camcorder has got like a 1500 times zoom or something. I was able to zoom in on the moon and I could see all the little craters and everything. And that was amazing because it's when you see the moon up there, I'm always looking at the moon and the stars and stuff, but when you see the moon up there, it feels like it's just a 2D shape, like stuck in the sky or something. It doesn't feel real, even though you know it's an actual planet or it's an actual like rock. It doesn't feel real. But then when you look at it, when I zoomed in on it and looked at it, I could actually see that it was a 3D shape and stuff. It was very surreal. So I really do recommend, if you can, try to find a way of being able to zoom in on the moon. And I just started thinking, what would it be like if you could somehow get a telescope or something and start zooming in and seeing Mars or something? That'd be amazing. And I also started thinking, it made me want to go out into space and look back at the Earth, because that was the first time I sort of got a taste of what it would be like to look at the Earth from outside, which I think would be amazing. So that's just another little random thing. But the good thing about this little camcorder is, what I'm going to do is, it's starting to get a bit warmer now, so I'm going to start like going out to Saltram sketching, and I'll be able to take the camcorder with me. So I think this is going to be quite a fun little thing to play around with. That's it really, but we get into this week's podcast, finally, it's all about, so what I'm going to do is, there's so many things that makes this amazing. So I was walking to work, and I've got like a 45-minute walk to work. So I was walking along to work, and I'd come to the decision that I was going to stop doing the podcast. Because I was saying to myself, I just want to focus on my art, and I'm going to have to stop doing everything. Because it was last week's episode where I was taking so much time trying to plan everything. I suddenly thought to myself, the only way this podcast is going to work at the moment for me is if it becomes more spontaneous. But then I thought to myself, how can it be spontaneous when I want to plan topics and stuff? And then I suddenly thought to myself, it was when I had decided that I was going to stop doing the podcast, this idea popped into my head. And what I'm going to do is, because on Wunderlist, which is this little app on my iPhone, and you get it on Android and you can get it on everything, it's just like a massive to-do list. I've talked about it before on the podcast, but inside of that I've got like loads of lists filled with potential blog post topics, podcast topics, diary entries, just like so many things that I wanted to talk about, like video topics and stuff, podcast topics. What I'm going to do is, I'm going to take all those topics, I'm going to throw them into a bowl. I'm going to throw them into my bowl, this bowl here, which I used to use for the little art tip. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all the topics into this bowl, and each episode is going to be completely random, and I'm going to set a timer of, I think I'm going to do 15 minutes. So what it means is the episodes are going to be, they're going to be structured, but they're going to be completely random. So what I'm going to do is, at the start of the episode, I'll go into each episode not knowing what I'm going to talk about, and I will just put my hand into the bowl, pick out a random topic, and that topic will, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 15 minutes to talk about that topic, and I'm going to have to talk about it without doing any planning or anything. So this could go horribly wrong, or it could be really quite amazing. And I've been thinking, because some of these topics I might think I want to talk about them, but when I start talking about them, I realise that maybe I don't have anything to say, or maybe I don't know enough about the topic to talk about it. But then what I thought is, I could actually use that podcast could be about how I don't have anything to say about it, and I could start wondering, why don't I have anything to say about it? So even if I am struggling to talk about it, I can talk about how I'm struggling to talk about it, which I think is quite funny. And there's 3 little rules I've got. The 3 rules are, it's 15 minutes, and you're not allowed to, you've basically got to go the whole 15 minutes. So if you get 10 minutes in and you think, I've got nothing else to say, you're going to have to find something to say. So that's going to be quite funny. And then, but the other way is you have to keep talking. No, you can't. You have to stop talking as well. So when it gets to 15 minutes, if you have got loads more to say, you've got to stop talking. So that way it will it will force me to limit the podcast, because sometimes these podcasts, they just get out of control and they're going all over the place, which I like, but that just means it takes longer to put everything together at the end. And then the show notes just go crazy when that happens, because I have to put all the links in and stuff. So I'm going to limit it to 15 minutes, which I think will help with that as well. You're not allowed to change the topic. So the first rule is 15 minutes, and you have to talk for the whole 15 minutes, but then when it's 15 minutes is up, you have to stop talking. You can probably finish. I'll maybe do the started so I'll finish. I'll allow myself to finish if I'm mid-sentence. The other thing is, you're not allowed to change the topic. So because these topics are not going to just be art things, it's also going to be stuff like, maybe it would say something like, talk about your a recent lucid dream and your interpretation of it, or it could be talking about something you've learnt from transitioning, which has helped you in your art. It's going to be a way to bring everything together. So it's not just going to be art stuff, but if I pull out a topic, like let's say I pull out, because it gets so amazing. The more I thought about this, the more it was amazing. Because the other thing is, like I wanted to stop doing the little art tips, the book and the fascinating facts, only because it was my way of trying to save time. But I can now put this back in. So one of the topics in the bowl could be like the book. So if there's a book that I want to talk about, I can just write that down, throw it in the bowl, and then if I randomly pull it out, I've got 15 minutes to talk about the book. So this is going to allow me to start talking about, like, bring the books back in, which is a really fun thing, and also the fascinating facts and the little art tips. So that was really good. But if I pull out a topic, like let's say it's a book, if I pull it out and I think I don't really want to talk about that, it's tough. I'm not allowed to change the topic. But again, I could talk about why I don't want to talk about it, and then maybe put the topic back in. So no matter what happens, I'm going to find a way to talk about that topic. And then the other rule is no editing is allowed, which again, this is another way of forcing me to not edit. So since I started doing the videos, I've not been editing at all. Just before that, I wasn't editing, but if there was little bits where maybe my voice cracked or something, I was going in and editing it. But since the video, I can't edit that, but I still could if I wanted to. But now I'm not going to allow myself. So that means for those 15 minutes, if there's a massive gap where I don't talk or I'm struggling with something, I'm going to leave it in. So it's just going to be really funny. I think this is going to help me with something I've always wanted to practice and improve, which is like being spontaneous. So I'm somebody who plans everything, but I can see the value in being spontaneous. And I think when you're talking in a podcast or something, if you can spontaneously talk about stuff, I feel like that's a really good skill to have. And so this is going to help me practice being spontaneous, because I'm going to have a topic which I don't know what I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to have to just talk about it. So it's also going to mean that I'm going to have to know what I'm talking about, which I just think it's a really good thing. And then the other thing that's amazing about this is that episode with the inspirational people, I've got it was just over 20 people that I really wanted to focus on, and I was going to break it down into 3 episodes. I was going to have 7 people in each episode, and I was going to play a little clip from each person and then briefly talk about them. And that's why it's going to end up being a really big episode, and there's going to be lots of work involved. But I've already got, see, I would have edited that little bit out there, but I've already got little clips of each person. So what I can do is I can put each person into the bowl. So I might put my hand in and pull it out, and it might say, talk about, one of these people is, for instance, Ajahn Brahm, which is a monk. And it might say, the topic will be, talk about Ajahn Brahm. So what I can do is I'll have it all ready, and I'll be able to load up a clip of him talking, and then I'll talk about him for the rest of the 15 minutes. So it's even going to allow me to bring in the inspirational people. But the really fun thing is, in say a year's time, if I find another inspirational person, I can just put them into the bowl. And I just think this is a really it's going to be a really fascinating experiment. But there's one thing I've been thinking about, is maybe having 3 bowls. One is art, one bowl, the other, maybe 2 bowls, the other bowl would be like personal things and spiritual things. And then I was maybe thinking 3 episodes a month of art and one of the other bowl. But then I was thinking, I don't know if I want to do that. I'd rather let the universe decide what is the topic. So I'm probably just going to have one bowl, but there's still little bits that I need to sort out. And so I wrote some little notes on this piece of paper, but I've got like a reminder on my phone just full of so much stuff about why this is, I think it's going to be a fun idea. And it's Iterating in Public. This is what it is. This is what I'll probably put the topic of this title. This is what the title of this episode will probably be, is Iterating in Public or something. Because something I've noticed is sometimes you have to try something to see if it's the right thing to do. So there's one of the inspirational people is Sean McCabe, who him and Ben are at SeanWest.com, and something he said years ago was about iterating in public, which is you don't wait until it's perfect, you put it out, and then you make it becomes perfect by you putting it out as being imperfect. But also, sometimes the only way you can find out if it's the right thing to do is to do it. Instead of, because what I do a lot of the time is, I'll have this idea, like I've got so many ideas that are still in my head from years ago, because they're in there and I'm thinking, is it the right thing to do? And the thing is, they're going to stay in there until I do it, because it's only when I do it that I'm going to find out if it is the right thing to do. So like this idea of this new format, I could have kept it in my head, but I'm going to try it and see if it's the right thing. And if say 10 episodes time, I think it's not very good, or it's just not working, I can change it. So it's all about iterating in public, and this podcast is like a prime example of that, really, because it's just the way it's changed over the last year. It's quite amazing how things change, because you start something thinking it's going to be one way, and it ends up going completely different, but it happens naturally, and that's what I like about stuff. That's what I like about stuff. So that's basically it, really. So the podcast from now on is going to change. It's going to be, because when I started this, it was, even though I said I'm not going to force it to be any sort of time, I really wanted it to be little episodes, but they ended up becoming like 15-minute episodes, and I've got to find ways to keep things simple, really. So I think it's going to be interesting no matter what, and I just thought I'd make this episode be about that. So that's basically this week's episode. It's all about the new format for the show. Another thing that's going to be really fun is if you have any questions or any topics, if you like, you could leave a message in the comments on the video, or send me an email at sophielawson.com/contact or sophie@sophielawson.com, and whatever it is, I will put it into the bowl. So it could be anything, and I will find a way. If it's a really random topic, like it could be, what is your favourite children's programme, or something weird, like nothing to do with anything, I'll put it in the bowl and I'll find a way to pull it into art. That'll be like one of the challenges. So if you've got any topics at all, or questions or anything, that you can send me the message and I'll put that in as well. So even that will be another little fun sort of interactive part of it. And I think that is it for this week's episode. This week's inspirational quote actually goes to Ian Barlow, And I've just got back from life drawing class with Ian Barlow, and he said so many things that were just amazing. So Ian Barlow is an artist who he used to come. I used to go to an art class for a few years, and every so often he would come in and he would tutor a life drawing session, and I just fell in love with the way he spoke and the way he taught, or the way he teaches. It's amazing. And then when this art class finished, that was like about 9 months ago, I think, and I started to miss him, and so I emailed him and said, like, is it possible I could have a one-to-one tuition or something? And then it's just the way the universe works is quite amazing, and it just within 2 weeks I ended up like going to his life drawing session with him, and we're now going to be doing that every week. But the way he talks is amazing. He's like, the way he talks and the way he draws and paints, it's all about feeling. So his little quote, actually I've got so many quotes about him, but he's funny as well, because he was talking and the model was sitting there. So we've got like a nude model, and he's talking about all the shapes and stuff, and then he said something which I don't know what he was talking about, but he said he's got like a chipmunk between her legs, and everyone just started laughing because he's basically said he's got a chipmunk between her legs. But I just thought it was funny. I think maybe he had to be there. But one thing he said, which I just thought, as he was saying it to me, I was just like, I was thinking to myself, do you realise how amazing you are? So what he said was, because I was trying to draw a line, but what I'd done was I'd simplified the line into one simple line, and which I think was okay, but he was basically saying what you want to do is you got to start adding the details into that line. And what he said to do was, and this is amazing, he said, imagine riding a mini bicycle and you have to ride it around the shape, that is just amazing, because I can really visualise that and imagine riding a little bicycle around the shape. So what he was saying was, like with her arm, it looked, when I looked at it, it looked like it was going like a simple shape. But then when he said, like, really look at it, you started realising that it wasn't as simple as it looked. There was like little things going on, little grooves and stuff. So when you start imagining riding this little bicycle, you're taking that one line out and you're riding the bicycle along that line, and it really allows you to see the details of the line. But it's just a really fun way to do it, and I know that is going to be one of those things that stays in my head forever now, because it's like a little mini bicycle is just such a fun thing. So every time I see a line and I really want to focus on it, I'm going to think of this little mini bicycle. But the inspirational quote is actually something he said, which, again, as he said it, I was thinking, like, I don't really know how to describe it. I was just thinking, you are amazing. As he was saying it, I was thinking, you are incredible. So what he said was, if you can feel it, you can draw it. That's this week's inspirational quote from Ian Barlow. If you can feel it, you can draw it. Ian Barlow.